In this short and snappy episode, I'm going to be sharing 5 powerful lessons I learned about selling whilst working in a casual retail job. Now, I'm not going to be talking about underhand sales tactics or persuasion tricks. That's not what I'm about. These lessons are about listening, empathy, and creating an experience, skills that have really always shaped the way I approach content, business, and connection, but probably even more consciously now after working in a retail environment. And I think they'll resonate with you too.
Welcome to the Powerful Content Podcast, your go-to source for content creation, strategy, and business inspiration. I'm your host, Mel Daniels, content strategist, coach, and speaker, empowering women across the globe to grow their business with powerful content that connects, nurtures, and converts. So, if you're ready to create standout content that gets you noticed and remembered, or build an aligned audience who love you and are ready to buy from you, you're in the right place. I believe that content has the power to connect us all. It's up to you how you use it. Listen in for genuine and insightful chats with guests, as well as practical tools and strategies from me. It's so lovely to have you here. Let's dive into the show.
I acknowledge the Wongal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the country that I am recording from today. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waters. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nation people listening today. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to episode 170 of the Powerful Content Podcast. I hope you are well today. Thank you for joining me. I truly appreciate you being here. Now, as I mentioned in recent episodes, I work in retail as well as in my business. Now, one job is customer facing and the other is behind the scenes. And you can go back to episodes 166 and 167 if you want to know more of the backstory about how this happened and how it's impacted my business. But one of the many takeaways I've had from these casual jobs is around selling and the best way to approach it so that you can be successful at it. So today I thought I'd share some really super quick, surprising lessons that I've learnt along the way. Well, I've probably known them and actioned upon them forever, but they've really come to the forefront of my thinking recently. So here they are. Number one is listening is a superpower. So the best salespeople aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who listen the best. And they're the ones who pause, who observe, and really hear what the customer is saying. Now, working in retail, listening has helped me understand whether someone was in a rush, unsure about the features or attributes of a product, or just need a little confidence boost to actually make the purchase. And when I stopped talking and started listening, I could meet them where they were. Now, when we're thinking about applying this to our content, I think that one of the things that we often forget is to listen to what our audience is saying. So, listen in comments, in DMs, market research, even the silence helps. Observe, reflect, and pay attention to what your audience is struggling with or what they're saying out loud, and bring that to your content. The second thing is that content isn't just talking at people. It's not us talking at them. It's about creating space for their voice to be heard. And sometimes I think that we forget this. We get caught up in the creation of content and telling people things and posting things on social media and emailing them, when really we just need to take a breath and create the space for our audience. When we stop and listen deeply, it can help you respond to your audience with content that really resonates with them. And this is really prevalent when you think about the 4 Ps of consistent content. I talk about these in lots of different episodes, and that is prepare, plan, produce, and process. We're really concentrating on that first phase, and that is prepare. Listening can help you prepare the content that you need in order to make the sales that you want. And lastly, I think that the best content is actually a response, not a broadcast. We often think that we need to talk to all the people when really we just need to speak to the right people. And we can do that if we're listening. So if you're stuck wondering what to say in your content, go and listen. Dig through past client conversations, recordings of Zoom meetings, voice notes, DMs. What are they actually asking you for? And that's where your next post or your podcast or blog or video lies. Okay, so the second lesson I think is ask before you assume. So asking open ended questions instead of assuming what someone wants is a really important skill to learn. I don't want you to assume what someone wants based on how they look or what they pick up. Ask those gentle, open ended questions to uncover what they're actually looking for, because you might just be surprised. So, in retail, if someone picks up a quilt cover set, I don't assume that that's what they're actually looking for. They might actually just need sheets. So, once again, asking the questions to see what they're looking for and then listening to the answers helps me find the right solution for them. And then they leave happy customers wanting to come back again. When it comes to your content, don't assume what your audience is struggling with. Ask them. And I think this is even more prevalent in the day of AI. We tend to fall back on AI and want AI to give us the answers when it's really the human connection where we're going to find out exactly what our audience is struggling with. Ask them. Don't create your content based on trends. So, your audience needs your expertise, not something that everyone else is following. And this is really quite prevalent in the retail space as well. So, if the color of the season is dark teal, doesn't mean everyone should be buying dark teal sheets or quilt covers, because it may not go with their current environment. They don't want the trends, they want something that suits them and their environment. So, with your content, you can do things like polls and questions and just have conversations with people to uncover their real needs. And I want you to remember that great content starts with curiosity, not just cleverness. So, as an example, if you're a photographer, instead of assuming your audience wants photography hacks, maybe what they actually want is to stop feeling embarrassed about showing up online. And you can help them do this through videos or explaining ways that you help people feel more comfortable in front of the camera. And if you're a business coach or a consultant, perhaps instead of assuming your audience wants business growth tips, maybe what they actually want is to feel confident about showing up online. So it might be simply giving them an easy system on how to do this. You won't know unless you ask. Now, lesson number 3, it's not about you. Your job isn't to push what you like, it's to find what they need. I had to learn this pretty quickly in a retail environment. Just because I liked the feel of bamboo sheets doesn't mean that it's right for everyone else. Some people like heavy sheets, some people like lighter sheets, some people have a big budget, some people have a small budget. When I really understood the customer's needs and preferences, they walked away happy, and so did I. So when it comes to your content isn't a diary. And what I mean by this is that it's a bridge to your ideal client. It's not about you and everything that's happened to you in your day unless you can make a connection to something that they actually need or want. Now, this doesn't mean that your content shouldn't include you, quite the opposite. I'm all about being more you when it comes to creating content, but it shifts your focus from what do I want to say to what would support my audience right now. Slightly different perspective. So, how can you do this? You can share stories and ideas with your audience in mind, kind of like what I'm doing right now, really. I've created a podcast around a personal experience in retail. What's something that's happening in your life that you can link to an offer or how you approach your service differently? And when we do this, it doesn't mean that you are erasing your personality entirely. We really want to make sure that your values and your beliefs shine through in your content. But in really taking a moment to switch your thinking from it's all about me to perhaps it's about what my ideal client needs, it starts to align with who you are and align with purpose and become more powerful content as well. So if you're sitting down to write a post, ask, is this for me or is it for them? Am I trying to prove something, or am I trying to connect with my ideal client? Okay, lesson number 4 is problem solving builds trust. Now, customers remember you when you solved a problem, not when you sold them the trendiest item or the most items. So, one of the most often asked questions I get on the retail floor is people wanting king single quilt covers. I know this sounds really strange, but our store doesn't sell them. And I know from personal experience that they are very, very difficult to find anywhere. A customer walked in and was looking to move her child from a cot to a bed and was going to buy a king single. Now, after a really long discussion about the pros and cons, she ended up deciding on a single bed and was so grateful for the conversation that she ended up buying several sheet sets and quilt covers from us. And I know that our store will always be her go-to now for any sort of homewares. So when it comes to your content should aim to solve one small problem at a time. And I think this is where so many people get caught up. You want to solve everything at the same time. And in doing so, you tend to overwhelm your audience. So take a step back from that and just solve one small problem at a time. The same applies to your lead magnet as well. We tend to want to solve the entire problem, but do you know what? They just need a little problem solved, and then they will be able to take the next step with you. You don't have to be the guru or the expert. You just have to be their guide. And when people feel seen and supported and heard, guess what? They remember you and want to come back for more. So you don't need to write the most profound post of your entire life every single time. Just help someone feel seen, understood, heard, or even slightly more confident today. And that's powerful content. And the last lesson, lesson number 5, is it's about the experience, not the transaction. So people come back to you because of how they felt, not because of the discount. Sure, sales help people get through the door, but the ones who keep coming back are the ones who feel welcome, who feel seen, and never, ever pressured. And that's what builds loyalty. There is nothing stronger in this world when it comes to repeat purchases than loyalty and trust. So your audience might find you through a reel or something that someone has shared, but they'll stick around because of how your content makes them feel. So think about creating an experience through your voice, through your visuals, and most importantly, communicating your values and beliefs, because that is what is going to build the trust and loyalty. Focus on connection over conversion. It's all about moving your ideal client through a journey, not just making the sale. Before we get to the sale in that client journey, we know that there is connection. We need to get them to subscribe to our email list. We need to nurture them before we get to that connection piece. And it's that journey that reflects the power of your content. And this is why I always say that content isn't just about selling, it's about a journey through serving. And that experience that you create along the way, that is your magic. That is your point of difference. Okay, so they're the 5 lessons that I've learned working in a retail environment. The first was listening is a superpower. Ask before you assume. It's not about you. Problem solving builds trust. And the last one was it's about the experience, not the transaction. Now, these 5 lessons apply to how we show up in our content and our business. It's really about listening deeply, asking instead of assuming, focusing on them, not you, and solving real problems with your content and helping make them feel good about being around you, because that's what builds the trust and that's what creates clients who love you, not just follow you. I really want you to get out of this episode today that sales and content creation aren't about pushing, they're about presence, listening, and problem solving. Now, as always, I want to give you a few questions that you can ask yourself to reflect upon. So go ahead and journal or answer them in your head right now to help you think about how you can bring these lessons on selling to your content today. The first question is, what would you change if you approached selling as an act of service rather than persuasion? The second one is, are you trying to convince people to buy or inviting the right people into something that can actually help them? And the third question is, how can you show up in a way that builds trust, even if someone isn't ready to buy yet. Now, if this episode around selling has resonated with you and you're ready to go deeper into creating content that connects, nurtures, and converts without the overwhelm, then I'd love for you to check out my book, The Power of Content. Inside, I share the exact framework I use to help women create content that feels aligned, that feels easy, and actually works for them too. It's full of practical ideas, encouragement, and some real life examples, just like today's episode. You can grab the paperback or a digital copy. Just head on down to the show notes for the link to get your copy. Talk soon.
Thanks so much for listening. That's it for another week. To get more powerful content in your life, make sure you're following along on socials. My handle is @meldbusiness. And just in case you're wondering, the groovy music for this podcast was created by Just Here on SoundCloud. I'd also be super grateful if you took a moment to rate and review this podcast so more amazing women like you can experience the power of content. And if you're like, hell Mel, stop talking, I'm ready to work with you now, here's how we can work some powerful content magic together. Firstly, come and join the Content Effect, my membership inspiring women with service-based businesses to ditch the content chaos and start creating stand-out content that gets you noticed and makes sales. You can join us by using the link in the show notes or just Google the Content Effect. The second way we can work together is via my one-on-one packages. We can create a sustainable content strategy or start to build out your client journey. It's up to you. Pop on over to meldbusinessservices.com.au/services to find out more. Until next time, have a beautiful week and embrace the power of your content.